So let me get this straight. Trick Williams, the face of NXT, the man who's been preaching loyalty and brotherhood for months, just walked out on his team in the biggest cross-promotional match of the year, and we're supposed to believe this guy is still a hero? Are you kidding me right now? What happened on the 7th of October wasn't just a loss for Team NXT, it was an embarrassment, a complete and utter collapse that exposed everything wrong with NXT's leadership, their egos, and their so-called unity. While TNA walked out looking like absolute champions, NXT imploded like a cheap firework, and Trick Williams lit the fuse before running away like a coward. Let's break down this disaster piece by piece, because what went down at the showdown wasn't just shocking, it was disgusting. Team NXT had everything to prove. This was their moment to show that NXT isn't just WWE's developmental brand anymore. This was the chance to prove they could stand toe-to-toe with TNA's best and represent the gold standard of professional wrestling. But what did we get instead? Chaos, dysfunction, and Trick Williams walking up that ramp with his tail between his legs while his teammates were getting destroyed in the ring. Here's the thing that nobody is talking about. Trick Williams has been positioned as the leader, the locker room general, the guy who's supposed to have everyone's back. Remember all those promos about we rise together, we fall together. Remember him talking about NXT being a family? Where was that family mentality when the going got tough? Where was that leadership when his brothers needed him most? The match started off strong, I'll give them that. Team NXT came out looking focused, looking ready, looking like they actually had a game plan. But cracks started showing immediately. You could see the egos clashing, the miscommunication, the lack of chemistry. Meanwhile, Team TNA was operating like a well-oiled machine, picking apart NXT's weaknesses one by one. And let me ask you something in the comments right now. Who do you think was the weak link on Team NXT? Because from where I'm sitting, they had multiple weak links, and they all started breaking at the same time. The turning point came about halfway through the match. There was a moment, one crucial moment where Trick Williams was supposed to make the save. His teammate was in trouble, getting decimated by two TNA wrestlers, and Trick just stood there. He hesitated. You could see it in his body language. The doubt, the second-guessing, the selfishness creeping in. That's when everything started falling apart faster than a house of cards in a hurricane. Arguments broke out on the apron. Guys started refusing to tag in. The teamwork completely evaporated, and Team TNA capitalized on every single mistake. They smelled blood in the water, and they went for the kill like the veterans they are. But here's where it gets really controversial, and I need you to pay attention because this is the part that has the wrestling world divided right now. Trick Williams didn't just quit on his team physically, he quit on them mentally first. You could see it in his eyes. That fire, that passion, that I'm going to die for my brand mentality, gone. Replaced with self-preservation and ego protection. He started thinking about his own reputation instead of the team's success. Now, some people are defending Trick. They are saying though, his teammates weren't listening to him, or he was put in an impossible situation, or my personal favorite. He was protecting himself from injury for bigger opportunities down the line. Are you serious? This is the problem with modern wrestling, folks. When did it become acceptable for the supposed leader of a team to abandon ship when things get rough? When did we start making excuses for quitters? This is the same energy as LeBron giving up in the NBA playoffs, the same energy as a quarterback walking off the field before the game is over. Drop a comment right now and tell me, would John Cena have walked out? Would Stone Cold have quit on his team? Would The Rock have turned his back when things got tough? Ah wait, the aftermath was even worse than the walkout itself. Trick Williams just disappeared backstage. No apology, no explanation, no accountability. Meanwhile, the rest of Team NXT had to face the media, face their peers, face the humiliation of losing to Team TNA while being a man down because their leader decided he was too good to finish the fight. Team TNA didn't just win, they dominated the final stretch. With Trick gone, it was like shooting fish in a barrel. They picked apart the remaining NXT members with surgical precision, making them look absolutely amateurish in the process. Every move was countered. Every comeback attempt was shut down. It was brutal to watch if you're an NXT fan. And here's the worst part. Trick Williams might have actually helped TNA more than his own team by leaving. Think about it. His presence in that locker room was creating more problems than solutions at that point. The arguing, the finger-pointing, the blame game, all of it started with his hesitation and his visible lack of commitment. But let's talk about the real victims here for a second. The other members of Team NXT who actually fought until the very end. The guys who took the pins, who absorbed the punishment, who carried the weight of representing their brand even when their so-called leader bailed on them. Those are the real soldiers. Those are the guys who deserve respect. Tell me in the comments, who do you think was the MVP of Team NXT despite the loss? Who showed the most heart? Now, the big question everyone's asking is, what happens next? Does Trick Williams get suspended? Does he get fined? Does he face consequences at all for this disgraceful display of abandonment? Or does WWE protect their golden boy and sweep this under the rug like they always do? The wrestling community is furious right now, and rightfully so. Social media has been exploding with reactions. Fans are divided into two camps, those who think Trick had his reasons and deserves a chance to explain himself, and those who think he should be stripped of any leadership role and possibly even suspended. I'm in the latter camp, and here's why. Professional wrestling is built on trust. Trust between tag team partners, trust between stablemates, trust between brands. When you represent your brand in a cross-promotional event, you're not just representing yourself, you're representing everyone who's ever worked for that brand, everyone who's ever bled for that brand, everyone who's ever sacrificed for that brand. Trick Williams spat in the face of that legacy. He dish-won-ed everyone who came before him and everyone who stands beside him. And the worst part? He did it on one of the biggest stages, in one of the most important matches of the year, against a competitor that NXT desperately needed to prove themselves against. Team TNA walked away from that showdown looking like superstars. They proved that TNA isn't just surviving, they are thriving. They showed unity, skill, strategy, and heart. Everything that Team NXT was supposed to show but completely failed to deliver. Here's my controversial take, and I know this is going to make some of you angry. Maybe Trick Williams walking out was the best thing that could have happened to NXT in the long run. Maybe they needed this wake-up call. Maybe they needed to see that their golden boy isn't as loyal or as committed as they thought. Maybe this exposes a bigger problem in the NXT locker room that's been festering under the surface. Comment below and tell me if you think this was a blessing in disguise or the worst thing that could have happened to NXT. Because here's the reality. NXT has been living off reputation for too long. They've been coasting on their past successes, banking on star power instead of building real teams and real chemistry. This loss to TNA, this implosion, this embarrassment, maybe it's exactly what they needed to rebuild from the ground up. But that doesn't excuse Trick Williams. Not even close. He still needs to answer for his actions. He still needs to face the consequences. He still needs to look his teammates in the eye and explain why he abandoned them in their darkest hour. The showdown on the 7th of October will go down in history, but not for the reasons NXT wanted. It'll be remembered as the night Team NXT imploded, the night their leader walked out, and the night Team TNA proved they are not just competitors, they are conquerors. So what's the verdict? Is Trick Williams a coward who quit on his team, or was he a victim of circumstances beyond his control? Is NXT's locker room toxic and dysfunctional, or was this just one bad night? And most importantly, can NXT ever recover from this humiliation? Drop your thoughts in the comment section right now. I want to hear everything you're thinking about this disaster. Hit that like button if you're as angry as I am about what went down. Subscribe to Wrestling Zone 1 for more no-holds-barred wrestling analysis that tells you the truth, not the corporate spin. Share this video with every wrestling fan you know who needs to see the reality of what happened at the showdown. This is Wrestling Zone 1, and we'll see you in the next one, where hopefully we'll have some answers about this absolute train wreck of a situation.